school. As you know, this is a unique and unprecedented time full of many emotions such as anxiety, worry, and frustrations. We appreciate your patience as decisions are not taken lightly and a lot of time and effort is going into making them. Information may not be communicated as quickly as you would like, and we recognize this is frustrating and a pain point. Decisions made are not going to make everyone happy, but are being made with the most up-to-date information we have while keeping everyone as safe as possible. Today we have a few panelists that will introduce themselves here in a little bit that will answer questions live. And we also have several staff members behind the scenes that will be answering questions. Please use the Q&A feature to ask questions throughout the presentation. Our agenda for today will cover the fall 2020 semester, international student implications, graduate assistantships, resources the university will be providing, and then a live round of question and answers that are being asked from the chat. At this time, I'd like to introduce some of our panelists. For international students, we have two panelists, Kayla Carroll and Aubrey Wagner. Kayla, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kayla Carroll. I'm the Director of International Admissions, and so I'll be addressing any questions regarding new incoming international students.
Aubrey?
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wagner. I'm the International Student and Scholar Services Unit Coordinator, and I will be addressing international student questions from continuing students.
And from research, we have Jason Wagner. Jason?
Hi, I'm Jason Wagner. I'm the Director for Research and Sponsored Programs. I'll be addressing general questions about how to support research on campus during this time.
The fall 2020 semester will start as normal on our academic calendar with classes starting August 17th. I wanted to review how the campus is going to be cleaning spaces, as those were some of the questions that had come in ahead of time. Cleaning of classrooms will occur frequently. They will be cleaned every day, and once a classroom is cleaned, it will be locked until the next morning when a class will begin. Masks must be worn at all times in a building, which includes in a classroom and any university building that you would be entering. Masks are also required in outdoor spaces when physical distancing of 6 feet or more cannot be maintained. Cleaning of high-touch surfaces throughout the campus, but not limited to doorknobs, light switches, elevator panels, hand railings, reception areas, classroom spaces, conference rooms, and restrooms will all be cleaned more frequently than normal, and we have added staff to help with all of the additional cleaning. Classrooms will be sanitized nightly. In addition, cleaning supplies such as hand sanitizer and wipes will be available in every classroom, and we are encouraging students and faculty to clean their spaces when they enter and leave. And I would also say that masks will be provided in the classrooms by the instructor. If you happen to forget a mask that day, there would be one available for you. Additional communication will be forthcoming to students as we head into classes starting for further information and the most up-to-date information we have. I'm going to turn it over to, no, I'm not going to turn it over yet. I still have a few things on my slide. Sorry about that. Fall break will occur at the end of November. And so you should have seen communication that we will be, classes will be remote after fall break and our Thanksgiving holiday, which is a US holiday that we observe. So what that means is that even though all classes will be remote after Thanksgiving, it does not mean that you have to leave the campus. You can still conduct research on campus. You can still live in the residence hall. You can still participate in your dining. If you have a dining plan, you will still be able to utilize those services. The services that are still on campus will still be open. So it's just classes that are going remote. We are not doing a full shutdown at the end of Thanksgiving. Fall classes will end officially December 11th, and that includes the final exam period. Modes of instruction are 3 types. We have in-person, hybrid, and online. In-person courses, as the name implies, is going to have an in-person, a majority of an in-person component. A hybrid is going to be a mixture of in-person and remote learning, and then online is 100% online. In order to know where those classes are found and what mode of instruction, you would need to use Course Finder, and I'm going to discuss that at the end of the presentation a little bit more on classes. For the most part, these classes have been set. The faculty have worked with their departments on finalizing their modes of instruction, and they have started to be finalized in our system. So while that you may see a few changes, we are hoping that those would be minimal. We do recommend that you contact your graduate coordinator about course availability, particularly in the different modes. So if you are an international student, for example, looking for an online class, you would have to reach out to the program to see if those are available to you. And again, if you want more information on what a hybrid class would look like by the instructor, please reach out to them or to your department. Now I'm going to turn it over to international admissions and have Kayla and Aubrey discuss implications for our students.
Thanks. For new students who have just been admitted for fall 2020, you have a few options for this fall. You can apply for your student visa and attend classes on campus with in-person or hybrid courses. We understand that visa availability right now is extremely limited. If you secure a visa appointment, please contact international admissions so that you are taking with you the most up-to-date information. Another option is to enroll 100% online for fall 2020. You can do this from your home country. To do so, let us know via the new international enrollment form, and we will take the appropriate action to defer your I-20 until the future semester so that you can come on campus in January. Another option is to defer your admission to the next available term, whether that be spring 21 or fall 2021. We can help you to work with your department to defer your application. Additionally, we are recommending that students arrive to campus by August 3rd. This would allow for 2 weeks of quarantining after international travel as recommended by the CDC. The latest date to arrive on campus is August 17th, the first day of classes. If you are going to arrive after that, please contact international admissions and we can review your situation. Aubrey?
Hi, so in terms of, let me pull up my document here. In terms of the key points for continuing international students, first point is that the normal online limits have been waived, so you do not need to worry about taking too many online classes this fall. You can attend in-person, hybrid, and online classes from within the U.S. You can also enroll in 100% online from either inside or outside of the U.S. So if you are unable to enter the U.S. due to travel restrictions, you can enroll online from abroad and your CVIS record will stay active. In general, to maintain your status, you should continue to make normal progress in your degree program, and you should try to maintain a full course load to the extent that that is possible. So it's important that you work with your academic advisors and grad coordinators when determining your class schedule for fall 2020. I also want to remind you that this is a constantly evolving situation, so now more than ever, it's important that you watch for emails from ISSS and that you check for updates posted to the university's coronavirus FAQ site, which will hopefully be updated very soon for that international student section, so that you can be aware of any changes. And you should also keep your ISSS portal user profile up to date and keep your ISSS advisor informed as well.
Thank you. For graduate assistantships, graduate assistants do need to be registered as a full-time student, which is 9 credit hours, and that can be in any of the 3 modes of instruction that we discussed previously: online, hybrid, or in person. If you are in your last semester, you are allowed a waiver of full-time, and that would be coordinated through your graduate coordinator. Whether you are a student, in your student role or in your employee role, you can request accommodations for underlying medical conditions to our Office of Student Access and Accommodations through ADA, as well as our Office of Equal Opportunity and Ethics. Decisions on remote work will be forthcoming. We realize a decision on GA positions and working remotely, specifically for international students, was expected on Monday, July 20th. We are very close in finalizing our decision, which will hopefully be communicated next week. Our reason for this delay is we wanted to make sure that we were using the most up-to-date information to make our decision. We know that you are anxiously awaiting this decision and has caused much frustration and anxiety. We empathize with you, and we are trying to work as quickly as we can, as we know the start of classes and your contracts are right around the corner. Jason, I'm going to jump to you to research.
Okay, so the highlighted points are that we have a coronavirus site. It's dedicated directly to research, and it goes over a lot of questions that we have fielded since mid-March. And the high points are research is going to continue both on and off campus. The research ethics and compliance area is actively working with folks to address any issues related to human subjects research. In-person research has been very difficult, and some of your protocols may reflect that, but those can be modified. We're prioritizing those accordingly so that we can make those modifications as necessary quickly to allow things to continue. Also, please be aware there is a student emergency grant funds availability that's been made through the CARES Act. You can apply for up to $500 of grant money to absorb any expenses you have received due to COVID. The only stipulation is that in order to apply for this funding, you have to also be eligible for Title IX aid through, or Title IV aid through financial aid. So please be aware that's one of the limitations. It is not one that the university has imposed. It is one that the federal government has imposed for giving the money to the university. The link below will take you directly to the site that allows you to apply for those funds. If you have not already, please do so.
Thank you. Many students have asked what resources are going to be available and what formats they would be provided for in the fall. Campus recreation is in our Student Fitness Center, as well as our Bowling and Billiard Center will be open. And while the hours might be adjusted, there will be some new expectations for safety, and there will still be plenty of opportunities to enjoy working out, bowling, and even group fitness classes. So we are following the CDC and the Illinois Public Health Department on following appropriate guidelines. And again, as Aubrey mentioned, things are rather fluid. And so this is the current situation for today. And the state of Illinois currently is in phase 4. If we move to a lower phase, then some of these resources would have to be modified, such as the campus recreation center. Career Services will provide career development and readiness programs, workshops, advising, and networking events in a variety of formats, including virtual, hybrid, and small group in-person sessions. Never too early to start exploring and utilizing the Career Services opportunities. And then an option we recommend is opting in to hire a Redbird. This will provide updates and information about attending virtual career fairs this fall. The Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology is a great resource for our graduate teaching assistants. They have provided workshops in partnership with the graduate school to help prepare you to get ready for classroom instruction this fall. And we will continue to offer those sessions throughout the fall. We encourage you to work with your faculty supervisor or your department on opportunities to continually help with teaching. We launched a ReggieNet site available to all graduate students called Graduate Student Resources. And currently in there, we have 11 DIY modules for practices for teaching. So helping you manage Zoom, or go through how to manage a synchronous versus an asynchronous class. How can you make connections with your students? So again, those resources are available to you as graduate teaching assistants, and we encourage you to review those materials and ask questions. The graduate school will be offering virtual events as well as some small group opportunities. We plan to continue doing a virtual coffee hour every week. We will start sending our weekly newsletter the week of August 10th. That will include all of the opportunities and as many opportunities on campus that we're aware of that we can share with you. And we would encourage you to read that, as that will help to keep you up to date with what is going on campus. We also plan to be offering virtual learning communities where you can work in small groups in a virtual setting with people who may be in similar situations or in a similar affinity group as you. So we plan to offer learning communities for Black graduate students, Latinx graduate students, students looking to pursue a field in higher education, support during a dissertation, as well as support during a thesis. Be on the lookout for information regarding those, as we will be looking for student leaders that would be incentivized to help lead these groups. Health, wellness, and promotion will be hosting a variety of virtual events as they currently do, such as meditation and yoga, to help you manage stress, anxiety, as well as to help stay focused during times of stress and while studying. Milner Library will be finalizing their opening options here soon, but currently they are offering a lot of online and virtual options, such as curbside pickup and on-campus delivery via campus mail if you are here working as an employee. Milner Library is offering a virtual reference desk, and you can get help via chat, email, and text. Student access and accommodation services are offering all of their services if you are here on campus as well as virtually. Student counseling is utilizing telehealth and online workshops for students. The graduate school has also partnered with them to offer our graduate teaching assistants a 3-part workshop that will be advertised here soon. It will be offered in October to help our graduate teaching assistants not assess per se, but to be aware of mental health conditions in their students, and particularly in a virtual environment, how you may help them. Student Health Services is also offering telehealth options and in-person appointments by appointment only. And then any technology questions that you might have, please contact the Tech Zone in the Bone Student Center or Technology Support Center for assistance. So if you are having trouble getting onto ReggieNet for your classes or attending Zoom sessions, please reach out to them, as they could help walk through any technology issues that you may be having. Some other topics to discuss before we get into the questions that you may have are degree timeline and expectations. So as far as degree timelines, we have built in for master's degrees, you're allowed up to 6 years. Doctoral degrees are allowed up to 8 years to complete requirements. We know that COVID is an unusual time, and extending degree is usually not a problem. You work with your thesis or dissertation advisor and the graduate school on working through a timeline that's going to work best for you. As far as degree expectations, we're not changing any of the requirements, such as the courses that you have to take, although due to fall and spring planning, some courses may not be offered that are required, and so substitutions may be used. And again, this would be on a program by program decision in coordination with the graduate school. As far as thesis and dissertation deadlines, we are trying to stick to the deadlines that are published on our website. However, case-by-case exceptions are being reviewed where we can evaluate a new timeline and make sure that we can meet the conferral of the degree. So part of the reason our deadlines are what they are is because we have to make sure that we process the degree and all requirements are filed in order for your diploma essentially to be processed on time. And so we want to make sure that we are sticking to that so that you can actually graduate in the term that you would like. And again, we're trying to be as flexible as possible during this time. So it's just communicating with us and your program with what you might need as far as extensions. As far as form deadlines and outcome of defenses, really any form that is required to come to the graduate school, we are highly encouraging you to email that to graduateschool@illinoisstate.edu, and we'll have a slide here with all of our contact information. We know many of you may not be on campus, or you may not want to come into an office just to drop off a form, and so we are encouraging you to send everything electronically. As I mentioned before with Course Finder, this is what's going to identify the course delivery mode. If your course is hybrid, notes will be made to indicate what that course may look like. Maybe half the class is coming one day or half a class is coming another. Maybe you're all meeting once a week, depending if it's a small cohort of students. We also recommend communicating with your instructor if you don't see any note, how the hybrid course is being designed. And instructors will be communicating with their students on what a hybrid format of a class will look like and what those expectations are. Online courses are being offered in both a synchronous and asynchronous format. So synchronous format would mean that if your class would have been face-to-face Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m., then the online synchronous format would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. And those times would be indicated in Course Finder. If there is no day or time listed, it's really more of what we're considering an asynchronous format, and that the instructor will sort of communicate what expectations you may have for the week. And then it's really up to you to complete those. So again, really communication from the program faculty is where you're going to find the best information regarding how your class format is going to be laid out. Health insurance. So if you have student health insurance through Illinois State, our provider is Aetna, and there is a link on the Student Health Services website to their services and what they cover. They do discuss testing and treatment coverage due to COVID on that site. I will let you know that any testing is free of charge, and that is covered under the student health insurance. There have been questions about testing on campus. Currently, we do not have a testing site on campus. However, options are being considered. There is a testing site just outside of town that can be reached by public transportation a few days a week. It is recommended based on the Redbird return plan that was updated about a week ago. It is recommended to have testing before you come to campus. And more information on testing will be forthcoming with information that will be going out to all students leading up to classes. At this time, I'm going to have Rachel Karachi come on. She is going to be the moderator for our questions from the audience. So please use the Q&A feature to have your questions asked by the panelists.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions coming in. One is from a student who says that they are a new student and here living in the US. Currently, out of 3 courses, 1 is in person, but should that one course go online, will it be an issue for me from a visa point of view? But to note that he is in a hybrid program. Kayla, do you want to take that?
Once you are fully registered, if you have one in-person course that later moves online, or If we're even talking about all courses moving online after fall break, it will not impact your visa.
Another question that has come in is, if we are new students for this fall, when does our health coverage begin? Well, do you know the answer to that?
Student health coverage begins August 15th. And so if you are registered as a full-time student of 9 hours, you are automatically enrolled in the health insurance plan unless you opt out. So for example, students may still be covered under their parents' plan or a guardian's plan. And so you can go to the student health website and there's a tab for insurance. And there would be a form that you can fill out that you have to opt out. And there is a deadline of either the 10th or the 15th of the month. But I would look that up sooner than later to make sure that if you do want to opt out, that you opt out correctly. I also believe there's an option through myillinoisstate.com, which is your student portal, that you also have the ability to opt out of insurance. If you are not enrolled full-time, you will not be automatically enrolled in student insurance. But if that is a plan you would like to purchase, you also have to do that again, either by the 10th or the 15th of the month in your either student portal or by submitting a form to Student Health Insurance.
So there's a question that's come in about testing and why it's not being made available on campus.
We are looking into the resources that it takes, and we don't have all of the necessary equipment to do testing on campus. So as I mentioned, there is a working group looking at that, and options will be forthcoming.
If we sent in a waiver about a week ago, but just received a bill for classes, is it safe to assume that that waiver just hasn't been approved yet? And who should I contact about that?
Student bills were distributed beginning of July, I believe around July 5th, and they will continue to come monthly. If you are a graduate assistant and you are still seeing tuition charges, those will come off once everything is processed. You do have to pay your student fees no matter what, so I would pay those. If you are receiving a partial tuition waiver through a department and you know that that has been approved, I would anticipate that that just has not been applied yet. I would continue to follow up on your account, and that if it hasn't come off, to reach back out to your department. Again, these waivers only cover tuition, so you are still responsible for your fees and paying those by the deadline.
I just want to remind everyone, if you do have additional questions, it looks like those are the questions that we have received to this point. But again, feel free to take that Q&A section and feel free to type in your question, and we will live answer that during our town hall right now.
The last slide we have here, and I will leave this up for the remainder of our town hall, is the contact information for international admissions, international students, and then the graduate school. And then there's also a link to the coronavirus FAQ page. This is being updated on a regular basis and contains the most up-to-date information and really compiles a variety of resources together. So we do encourage you to review that website on a regular basis for the most up-to-date information.
Are CARES Act funds still available for students?
CARES Act funds are still available. At the last check, we still have over half of the money available. So apply, it is there for use. You know, is it available to all students? That is heavily dependent on the application process on whether you qualify to receive the funds, but you should apply for sure.
Noelle, maybe you can talk a little bit about what the spring semester will look like starting in January, or if that has been determined yet.
Spring semester decisions have not been finalized yet. We are in the process of starting those conversations, and we hope to communicate those, once we have them. But again, we want to make sure that we are taking the time to make sure that we are really making the right decisions. And I think we sort of need to see how fall goes, and we need to see where the government and our country and our state are within, COVID cases and things like that. So spring planning is starting to happen, and those plans will be communicated once we have them.
Do we have a plan for how to deal with students who are unable or willing to adhere to a mask wearing or social distance policies?
If you are acting as an employee, so where you would be interacting with students, whether that's in a teaching role or maybe you're working in an office where you would have a high traffic area, it has been suggested, that you ask that they wear a mask, and if they refuse, it's not the intention for you to get into an argument with that person. You are to report students to I forget now where you have to report students, but Human Resources, a place where you can report students. Oh, sorry, Dean of Students. You would report students not complying to wearing a mask to the Dean of Students, and they will investigate the situation. So we are encouraging everyone on campus to be respectful of the guidelines that Illinois State is providing, and that we're really all in this together, and to really just be a respectful student, faculty, and staff member, and to abide by those guidelines.
If graduate classes or even just university classes in general go fully remote, is the university considering a discounting of either tuition and or student fees?
I am not part of those conversations, so unfortunately I don't know the answer to that question. Currently, as it stands, there is no difference in tuition costs based on the mode of instruction, and fee structures are the same. If you are in an online class, the fees go towards different things as if you are on campus. So if we were to go all remote at some point, I am not sure what the university's decision will be.
Are employees, including graduate assistants, required to be tested regularly, or is it just recommended as stated for students in the Redbird Return Plan?
So the Redbird Return Plan applies not only to students, but to faculty and staff. So it is encouraged that everybody be tested before they start their contract start date, or start classes. And again, that is just a recommendation. As far as continual testing or regular testing, that information will be forthcoming in a plan that a working group is finalizing, and that will be communicated before classes start.
So this is a question about research. Can we still expect instruments in the STEM department to be operating, and will we be able to receive instrument training if we are a new student?
From the discussions we've had to date, it is clear that there are going to continue to be research activities, including large instrumentation. So that much is clear. Whether there will be instrumentation training, that is going to be a decision by each department to be made based on social distancing standards and schedules. But the impression I have is that yes, this will continue because it's a necessary part of continuing research initiatives and also training that students have to receive. So but what everyone is very clear about is this will be done, but social distancing guidelines and cleaning standards will be employed to make this safe for everyone.
Okay. There was a question about taking public transportation. And so why would we be asking students to take public transportation when you would be getting or possibly exposing individuals? I don't know if, Noelle, if you want to take that.
Sure. We said that as an option if you aren't able to drive yourself or have your own vehicle on campus. Certainly, if you are feeling exposed to symptoms, the first thing we would want you to do is actually contact Student Health Services to sort of go through a system checklist if they recommend testing. Again, public transportation is also following social distance guidelines. And so if it was an option for somebody who needed to get testing but didn't have the capability of getting somewhere themselves, that is why we recommended, or why we mentioned public transportation.
So it looks like that might be, let me take a quick peek here. Oh, there's a few others, sorry. As a follow-up question, does this mean that TAs are allowed or able to dismiss students who do not comply with university safety procedures? If a student does not wear a mask, are we allowed to have them, do we allow them to stay in the classroom?
If a student comes to a class without a mask, you are to offer them a mask that would be available in the classroom. And if they refuse to wear a mask, you are to ask them to leave. Now, if they do not leave, we wouldn't ask for you to engage in disruptive discussion and then report them to Dean of Students. Again, further guidelines will come out specifically about this and how to address disorderly students or students not abiding by that contact. But we want to be cognizant that you as a TA, as well as any faculty member, are there to educate our students and to not have to spend time really engaging in an argument with a student. So again, guidelines will be provided on the actual steps needed, but that is the guideline right now, is that you would ask them to wear a mask, provide them the mask, and then ask them to leave if they don't wear the mask.
There's a question then about if someone does test positive in a class, should everyone be required to, what's the procedure? Is everyone required to isolate? And if so, would those be required to isolate, have an accommodation for other courses that are in person?
That's a great question, and I forgot to mention that while I was going through the town hall. If anyone tests positive, they are to quarantine for 14 days and then to monitor their symptoms and make sure that they are not coming back into the classroom until they are symptom-free for 24 hours. If you are not able, and in that case, if you're not able to attend classes, that is an excused absence. If you are on the employee side, there is a leave policy that you would follow. So you sort of, again, if I know many of our students serve these dual roles as students and employees, so you may have to go through 2 avenues as far as reporting that quarantine. So if you are quarantined, it would sort of spread out to all of your classes. You would not be expected to attend in person. And we know, depending on the level of sickness that you might feel, you may be able to attend some classes virtually, but again, that is not expected if you really are not feeling well. As far as someone being tested, within the classroom, because physical distancing is being utilized, we would contact students in the classroom to notify them, and then we would recommend testing, but it doesn't mean that that person has to quarantine as long as physical distancing has been maintained. And so we are, again, working on a plan for tracing and how to communicate to students when a positive, and to faculty and staff when a positive case is reported. The other thing is that if you have been in contact with somebody that has tested positive, there are steps in place as well as far as quarantining and excused absences or leave. And those, if they have not already been communicated to students, will again be forthcoming in a finalized plan.
It sounds like we've already answered, there's a question about coronavirus in classes and graduate assistantship duties. Do you want to also mention, and maybe you did and I apologize, but did you want to mention, do you need to mention anything about connecting with their supervisor about during that time?
From the employee side of things, if you again have tested positive or are experiencing symptoms, you are to actually report to human resources. While out of courtesy, it might, be advantageous to talk to your supervisor. Human resources will actually do that on behalf for you once you report those symptoms.
Hey, Jason, I know that you have mentioned a little bit of information about the CARES Act already, but there's a question here about that not necessarily being able for international students being able to take advantage of CARES Act, but can you talk about if you know of any alternative forms of support for international students that are affected?
I am not currently aware of anything specifically at this moment that is available for international students that is similar to the CARES Act. What we are doing as a campus, though, is on a regular basis reviewing funds that are being made available, and funds are being made available by different government agencies on a regular basis. All I can say is because the situation continues to evolve, if we identify additional pots of money that will be made available to students, we will be communicating those as quickly and as clearly as we possibly can. It is an evolving situation. I am aware of a couple of things that are not finalized but are being discussed, but I don't want to promise something that may not materialize, because this is an unprecedented situation where things do unfortunately change, and the first answer is not always the correct one. So if we become aware of something, though, we will definitely broadcast it as widely as we can, as often as we can.
The only thing I do want to follow up on that is I know that Jason, you had mentioned, but I still do think an international student should fill out the CARES form for through financial aid. If they cannot get students some aid that they need or relief that they need through the federal government through CARES, I know that there is relief through the coronavirus fund that is being supported through the university. So I don't know, and Noelle, did you need to add anything else to that?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and say that the form that is used for the CARES Act funding, it is encouraged that all students use that form, and then financial aid will sort through. And if, for example, an international student completes that CARES Act form, they will be evaluated using a different type of funding structure that is not CARES Act. So we have a red and white fund, we have the coronavirus aid fund, and so those funds are being saved for the students that do not qualify for CARES.
So it looks like there's just a couple of other questions that are coming in. Is it possible that testing will at some point be mandatory to help mitigate any risks that may be happening on campus? Obviously, that's hard to tell with what the current environment is. I don't know if you want to mention that at all.
Yeah, and I think as we've sort of mentioned here, the situation can sort of changes on a day-to-day basis, that we're monitoring that situation. And as of today, it's only a recommendation for testing, and that may change, and that would all be communicated with you.
And then last but not least, it does, it does appear that while the degree that we're taking of trying to keep students safe at the university we feel is pretty high, you know, are there other things that may be in place to help, should we be going even more so above and beyond, basically to help our students, to protect our students to the same degree that might be happening in other areas outside of a university or education type setting? Not sure if this is the right forum for it, but that question was asked.
I mean, I think we're doing some similar things that you would see in other industries. There's going to be a lot of signage, such as, you know, entering a certain way, you know, in one door and out the other. There will be markings on the floor. There will be, I think there's about 9 videos that are going to be coming out to sort of say, this is what you expect when walking into a classroom or walking into the dining center or walking into a common area such as the Bone Student Center. Some departments are making spaces available for small groups of students to utilize, again, being aware of physical distancing as a study space. So we do know that there are some students concerned about having an in-person class and then having to get to a hybrid or an online class right away if it's in a synchronous setting. And so where might you go for those classes? And so again, communication, and we'll be coming and we're looking at those spaces and how to provide students an opportunity of where to go. And again, I think really the message we're trying to get out is to being a responsible redbird, and that we all are aware of these physical distancing and the guidelines we have to be aware of, such as masks and hand washing and frequent cleaning. And so being aware, we are having some student ambassadors on campus to sort of help spread that message. And I think, you know, as we sort of talked about, it's just being that a responsible redbird and doing your part to help to mitigate as much as we can and keep everyone as safe as we can.
It looks like maybe one of the last questions. How can we know if there's any forms that we haven't turned in or if we're missing anything that's required by the graduate school before classes begin?
As far as required forms, that would really only be if you are in the thesis or the dissertation process. And I would recommend going on our website and go to the checklist that we have. You also would receive email correspondence from the graduate school when you do turn in a form. So for example, if you've done your proposal, there's a proposal approval form, and then you would get an email from the graduate school saying that that has been approved. There's a right to defend form. If you turn that in, you would have an email. So if you feel that you have turned in a form and you cannot find the confirmation email, please reach out to our office and we can verify if we have those forms on file for you.
The other thing I will mention that is if you are a new student, please check your My Portal. It will tell you in there if you have any to-do list items, whether that be for, you know, the admissions office, international or graduate, just to make sure that you have all of those things taken care of prior to the start of class. Well, it appears that that is all the questions that we have at this point in time. So Noelle, I'll turn it back over to you to end our session.
Thanks, Rachel. So just to wrap up, again, we thank you for attending today's session. We plan to have a town hall event on a monthly basis for all of our graduate students. Also look for those weekly updates in our newsletter, as well as weekly coffee hours to get together and ask questions. We know that this is it's a time of unknown, and we're all experiencing this together. And we will do our best to answer the questions that you have. So if we were not able to answer your questions today, please email us and we will either find the answer, or unfortunately right now it may just be information is forthcoming. please be patient with those answers. Again, you're going to start to see a lot of information come out as we come into the month of August and prepare for classes to start. And again, if you don't feel that your questions are being answered with the information that's coming out, again, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. The coronavirus FAQ page also has an area that you can ask questions that they will find, again, direct those to the right person to answer those. We look forward to interacting with you, whether that's on campus or virtually this year. From the graduate school, we do want to still connect with our students, and we will do the best that we can to reach you and help with whatever needs that you have, but it's just communicating with us to know what those are. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to interacting with you soon. Thank you.